Hello, everybody. Jak Shamash, as we say in Polish. I am Jay Kokorowski, recruiting analyst, or not, I'm not a recruiting analyst. We have someone else come on from a recruiting analyst from Rivals.com. I am the senior writer at BadgerBlitzcom, your home for everything going on the recruiting trail for the Wisconsin Badgers, on the field, on Camp Randall Stadium, and of course, on the court of the Kohl Center. Happy Tuesday evening here, and we got a great show coming up. We're going to, what you see on our YouTube channel right now, maybe about a half hour ago, I uploaded a video with Cade Yacamelli, the 2022 athlete for Wisconsin, and it sounds like Joe Rudolph, the associate head coach and offensive line coach, is going to be heading out there to take in practice tomorrow. So make sure you listen to that video, watch that video. Great 12, 13 minutes of your time, really quick. Great discussion with Cade. But right now, we have a lot of fun coming in. Some with some Wisconsin ties, someone with some Madison connections. We got Clint Cosgrove, our national recruiting analyst, taking care of the Midwest here for Rivals.com. Clint, man, great talking with you. We talked a little bit before this live stream. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm fantastic. Just excited to be here. Love talking football. Love talking Badger football. I grew up around it, and just looking forward to having a little fun and just having a nice conversation about some ball and recruiting.
Exactly. Now, within that too, you talked about a little bit of that Madison, experience. Tell us a little bit about just your background, how you were in Madison. I know you and I both have a mutual friend in one Joel Nellis, the former Wisconsin walk-on tight end who now coaches at Brookfield Central in the Milwaukee metropolitan area. Shout out to Joel if he is watching. I did tell him that we were doing this today, so hopefully he's tuning in. But
he better be.
But really, what is your background here within Madison? And just obviously the last name should be pretty familiar for Wisconsin fans.
Yeah, so a long history with Wisconsin. When I was born, my dad was coaching at University of Illinois. Those are my early days. I think we were there till I was about 6. He went to Colorado State and then eventually ended up on Barry Alvarez's original staff at the University of Wisconsin. So we moved, what year was that? Was it like 89, 90, something like that? We moved to Madison, and my dad was there for he was there until 2004. So you don't really see that much in the coaching profession. So I grew up in Madison, from first grade through, I started out at University of Wisconsin and then transferred to Arizona State. So I was there from first grade through sophomore year in college, and a lot of connections to the program. I grew up around it. I watched the way it was built. A lot of the guys that I was around growing up are back there now, guys that I played with and everything. So I went to Edgewood High School right down the street from Camp Randall, and basically my childhood was Wisconsin football. I was a little football junkie from a young age, and I was lucky enough to have Coach Alvarez be cool with me hanging around the office, running around. I would draw up plays, and whoever the offensive coordinator was, I didn't know defensive plays at the time, but I knew that I could draw a bunch of routes, and I don't even know if I had enough, the right amount of guys on there, but I used to send them into whoever it was, whether it was, Callahan, Childress, Coach White, whoever it was, and then I'd get mad if they didn't run them in the game. But that's really, where my football beginnings really were.
That's great. And why we're having you on with this, this is going to be a recruiting live stream Q&A, and we're having a lot of fun with this. Obviously, the early signing period is 2 weeks from tomorrow it starts, which is absolutely crazy. Isn't it? I'm barely processing that 2021 is coming to an end. You and I talked. I have 3 boys that birthdays are coming in within the next 8 days. So I'm still trying to process all that and nearing myself, getting up, with my birthday. I'm nearing 40s coming up soon. I'm still not processing that, but we are talking some, early signing period, Q&A a couple of Wisconsin targets still out there, 2 to 3 of them, big names. But we have a Q&A coming up, and within that too, I want to talk about, we have the questions came from BadgerBlitz.com subscribers, and so we asked them on our Badgers Den forum, just, hey, Clint's coming on, we're doing this live stream Q&A, what questions do you have? And so if anybody has any questions here, we do have a comment thing. We have a questions thing. So feel free to live stream, feel free to ask in this comments. I'll be able to see them. But we're going to get these subscriber questions done first. And how do you subscribe? Well, here's my little pitch and my little graphic we have here on the live stream. Honestly, go to wisconsin.rivals.com, go underneath the sign up, put in the promo code RIVALS2021, and it's going to be new annual subscriptions only. It's valid for any team site on the Rivals.com network too. So if for those fans in the Big Ten that are watching just to see what's going on with Wisconsin recruiting, go to the Iowa, go to Hawkeye Report, go to the Gopher Report, all those great channels for Rivals.com. That promo code works, and it's only $20.21 for your first year, which less than $2 a month, 80%. Nearly 80% off what an annual subscription to Rivals.com is. Again, go to BadgerBlitzcom there. And so we had our great subscribers at BadgerBlitzcom. Hopefully y'all are watching. Ask some questions, and so we're going to start off right away. And so I'm going to take out my trusty phone here because I don't have a dual screen, unfortunately, which I need to invest in that. The first question for you, Clint, getting into this, and obviously it goes into the big news with yesterday with Brian Kelly and the head coach of Notre Dame leaving for the same position at LSU. Just how does Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame for LSU affect the recruitment of Wisconsin target 4-star offensive lineman Billy Strouth?
That's a hard one for a lot of reasons. Billy, he's kind of keeps things close to the vest. Some guys are really into the recruiting process, and some guys are kind of keep it on to themselves, and it's just part of their lives where it's just part of a decision process and going to college. Other guys, they want to tweet out a top 12, a top 5, a top 3, a top 2, and then make their announcement. Billy's not like that. Billy's a ball player. He he's up in an area and at a high school that does kind of have some ties to Notre Dame, just, with being a private high school, and I know a lot of kids from that high school have gone, the route of Notre Dame and that sort of thing. I actually played against that high school when I was in high school. So I do think that, Coach Kelly leaving, especially right before signing day, that can have a big effect. But at the same time, with Billy's situation, I don't know if it's necessarily about the coaches. It might be a lot more about just the school. And, a lot of people say, commit to the school, not to the coach. And then when kids commit to the coach and the coach leaves, they get pretty upset. And some guys, they're going to commit to the school no matter what. So obviously relationships with coaches are huge. But with Billy's situation, I don't know how much of an effect it is going to have. I would say that it's not going to hurt Wisconsin by any means. If anything, it's going to help Wisconsin. But I don't think it takes Notre Dame out of the picture. Just for the type of player he is, the way his recruitment's gone, and just knowing the background of that area, the school, and, the type of kids that are up there, I think it could be a race to the finish. I do think if he was going to commit to Notre Dame, it would have already happened. But, if he was going to commit to Wisconsin, for sure, it would already happen. So that leads me to believe that he is still undecided. And I think this one will probably go down to the very end. But he's a hard one to read because he is not very vocal about his recruitment, doesn't do a lot of interviews, doesn't get caught up in the limelight. It's really going to be probably more of a college and business decision for him as much as anything.
Now, looking at the next question we have coming up on this BadgerBlitz.com live stream. This is a fun one. I found this one really interesting. How do recruits value long-term program stability, and does the coaching carousel bother them at all with the options the transfer portal gives, or is it just not something really considered?
That's a great question. So I would say this. I think parents value the long-term stability of a program more than anybody in the recruiting process. I talk to a lot of kids. I talk to a lot of parents. I've been doing this for a long time. I've recruited and coached, and the parents really want to know that their kid's going to be taken care of by the person who recruited them. They're basically handing their child off for the first time in their life to go off, and be on their own and develop and become a man. but they want them, even though they're considered adults at 18, they want them to be with somebody that they can trust to take care of them and develop them the way that they would, like to develop them as a parent, even though they're away from home. So I do think that it's a lot more important to the parents. Kids seem to get a little more caught up in the flash and the school and who's winning and the facilities. But you also see at the same time, look at Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma. We've already got multiple decommitments from there. Notre Dame's a little different of a program because it is a place that people commit to the school. Whereas Oklahoma, I feel like it might be a place where they commit to that offense or that coach. So you get a really big mixed bag when it comes to it, and every kid's going to be different. With some of these coaching changes, you'll see the kids come out and tweet, "I committed to the school. I want to be here. I want to be in this offense, or I want to be on this campus." But so it does come into play. I've talked to kids that, like Iowa, Wisconsin, those are top schools for them because they have a feeling that coach, whoever recruited them, is going to be there 4 years from now. And that's really important to relationship-based kids, kids who base their relationship or base their recruitment off of relationships. The guys who are more about the facilities and the uniforms, and there's no right or wrong way to go about it, but those type of kids aren't going to value, the stability as much as others. And I really think that, you look at certain kids' recruitments and they will look at the overall program stability versus the coach stability. If I'm a kid and I'm being recruited by Ohio State and Wisconsin, Wisconsin's a winning team, obviously, but Ohio State, it seems, for the last how many years, no matter who's the head coach there, they're going to be in the national championship consideration. And so there's multiple levels to that. Some kids do commit to the school, some kids commit to the coach, and some kids are looking for stability. But at the end of the day, I think the parents value it more than the players nowadays.
Going on to our third question from our BadgerBlitz.com subscribers. This is a good one too, I think, and it's really, again, these are great questions from our BadgerBlitz.com subscribers. This is why you become part of the BadgerBlitz.com Rivals community, because just the fans are just so, they enjoy the recruiting in terms of just the ins and outs and trying to, obviously they cheer the on-the-field product, but recruiting is where everything starts in this, and so they've had some great questions over the course, the past day when we put this, when we announced that, hey, we're having this Q&A going on. So shout out again to all these questions. I've been having a lot of fun with them. So this next one this one's intriguing to me because it says, do you feel the early signing period is the catalyst for the silly season or the coaching carousel to start extra early, even when a team has a shot of making the playoffs or the college football playoff?
Yeah, 100%. It becomes a race because what you have happening is, the first thing, I guess, where this starts is there wasn't this much money involved in college football 25 years ago. Coaches weren't making millions of dollars. There was one or two of them that were. Now there's multiple coordinators that are making money. So it starts with that. And with that money comes the pressure to win. You've got booster money, you've got TV money, you've got conference championship money. At the end of the day, it does come down to money. And in order to get that money, you have to put a winning product on the field. And so if I'm a team like Florida, or I'm a team like Oklahoma or LSU, and I know that, and I've talked to some agents that say there could be up to 40 jobs available this year, I need to get in on the front end of that if I'm looking to make a change. And, it's a shame in the sense that it's sometimes profits over people and profits over kids. And but at the same time, that's what makes these kids' life and the NIL and all of those things. It's, the money is what makes it all tick. So, but 100%, if there was not this early signing period, we would not have this early of changes because everybody's looking to secure a class. And if you're a blue blood program, a USC and LSU, you cannot afford to miss out on a class because you can capitalize every single year and sign blue chip athletes, but you're not going to do that if you don't have a coach in place. And you want to make a splash hire. So it's really a domino effect. And I would say, yeah, the early signing period has been probably the biggest catalyst to make that happen.
Going to our next question from this is our Badger. I forgot to mention our BadgerBlitz.com subscriber name, so I apologize for the first three questions, but we'll do Gilreath from the three. The next question here, in terms of talking about larger recruiting departments, in terms of just the programs and just the size of recruiting departments, can you provide an example of what teams with large recruiting departments can do that smaller ones can't? And for an example, can those with larger departments reach more players more often, or maybe send out more mail or make more contact?
Yeah, it's insane. The disparity between a huge recruiting program that has the resources. Like, for instance, my dad was at LSU a couple years ago when they won the national championship. I go down to that office. There's a recruiting basically den. And they had they had 3 full-time staff members. They got, another 5 students. They've got another, 3 analysts. You've literally got a full staff of people, the same size staff that some of these other, even Power 5 schools have, just coaching the team, working directly on recruiting. And what it allows them to do, and there have been some things, it's just a multifaceted question, because there are a lot of things that have come up as far as technology, where schools can invest in programs where the head coach can be messaging multiple kids through a program, or there's analytics software where you don't need 100 people searching Twitter for who's getting offered or who's getting recruited or who's naming a coach. So that stuff, but that stuff also costs money. So the thing that you have is these schools that can afford or want to invest in a big recruiting department. They can have the best of both worlds. They can have 30 people watching film. They can have all of the analytics software. They can be, somebody researching, calling the high school, calling the secretary. They can find out. There's just so many more resources. And with more people, there's more information. And nowadays, with Twitter, all the recruiting services, everything, there's just an overload of information. And before I came to Rivals, I was working in scouting. When I first started doing that about 8 years ago, I had to go and find everything. I had to reach out to the coaches. I had to go to these camps, all this stuff. I was gathering the information. Nowadays, it's more about sorting through the information. And if you don't have a large enough group of people and, enough resources to sort through it, you're going to miss a lot. And nowadays, there's a lot of fluff out there because everybody's got a voice with Twitter and, everything else like that. So I would say one of the biggest things that separates your national contenders every single year and a team that can occasionally, compete for a championship is it starts with the recruiting department. You have to invest in recruiting in order to be the best. Now, you can be a great evaluator. You can be great with relationships. But at the end of the day, are you putting enough effort into recruiting, uncovering, every stone there is in order to not only find the best, but, project the best kids? There's a lot of guys that are tapped out, especially in states where, football starts early and understanding of the game starts early. And you got places like Wisconsin where everybody kind of, I grew up in it. You play for one grade school team and, you're running one offense over here, and then you go over to this high school and everything's different. There's places in Texas where you're running the same offense since you're in second grade, and so you get a lot more polished players out of there. And not saying that you don't get polished players out of Wisconsin, but, places like Wisconsin versus Texas, you have to do a lot of projecting. And in order to do that, it takes a lot of resources and a lot of people in order to really take a deep dive into everything. If that makes sense. There's just so many levels to it. So, but it's crazy the resources that these big blue blood programs have for their recruiting departments. They'll have 30 people working in there. They'll buy every single analytics and recruiting service there is because they will make sure that there is nothing that they miss out on.
Wow. See, that's stuff that I wouldn't even know. Like that's insane, just the amount of work. I mean, and obviously they have to do that to stay atop, in college football. So next question we have this from, let's see, it is member, BadgerBlitzcom subscriber, CC Manhattan. Is Wisconsin's punter-kicker recruiting approach similar to other Big Ten schools, or do they all offer scholarships to specialists?
No, I mean, a lot of schools don't. And it's an interesting dynamic. And I think if you look at things, and I don't have the statistics in front of me, but if you look at over time, you'll find that a lot of lower level players are the specialists in the NFL. Whether it be FCS level, group of 5 teams. Like I know my dad was at New Mexico, like their kicker and their punter, both in the NFL. So the premium on scholarships for specialists is, I mean, it's huge because most are forced to walk on, earn the spot first, and then they get their scholarship. And then you look at teams like, Michigan, Wisconsin, like who aren't afraid to, Alabama. Alabama's big on offering. They will offer specialists because when the margin for error is as small as it is in college football, a missed field goal can derail an entire season. A punt that goes out of bounds 10 yards, can lose a game. And losing a game means maybe not an opportunity of going to the the conference championship, which equals not going to the playoff. You see actually the majority of scholarship offers out of high school for specialists come at the FCS level because they can break up their scholarships. I have a lot of respect for Power 5 and Group of 5 schools that are willing to use a scholarship on a kicker or a punter because to me, special teams at the end of the day, it's 1/3 of the game and you're not using 1/3 of the scholarships on it, obviously. So I like the approach of offering kickers and punters. The problem is you pigeonhole yourself if they don't turn out. So you have to do a really good job of evaluating because if you have a kicker on scholarship and they can't perform, what do? You don't have another scholarship for another kicker, especially when you have other areas of need. So it's one of those things where it's almost like a quarterback. You might offer one a year, but you better get that offer right. It's not going to be somebody that you just like. It has to be somebody that is the future of the program at that position. It's the specialist recruiting is really interesting, and nobody really does it until the end. There's very few schools that are going to early offer a kid unless they're like the next Reggie Roby,
Right. And I think with that too, I think that question's a good question. I also want to preface too by Wisconsin's offered specialists too. The one that comes to mind immediately for those that love him, Rafael Gaglianone, the Brazilian kicker who was in Tennessee, and obviously he had a very productive career for Wisconsin. He had a huge leg, for that matter. Anthony Lotti is another name from Georgia, who was a scholarship player, and he had a scholarship there. And then Adam Bay, before this year, past 4 years, was the long snapper for Wisconsin for all, since a true freshman. So it's not unprecedented that Wisconsin doesn't offer scholarships. It's just like you said, it's, there's a process and, right now, and even right now, Peter Bowden, is a long snapper right now. And then you have, Andy Vunovic, a D3 transfer, and then Colin Larsh as the place kicker. And now, he's been doing some of the kickoff specialist duties. So it's not, like I said, some of the walk-on stuff, like you said, it's not everyone's doing it, but, there have been others like Gaglianone, Lotti, Bay that have gotten scholarships right off the bat.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even throwing it back to like the John Hall days for those of you that go way far back. But and a lot of it is there's not, and since like let's say that every team started offering specialists, then you would see more of it because there's not an incentive to offer a scholarship to a kid that doesn't have scholarship offers when you can get them for free to walk on and then give them their scholarship when they've earned it. And so a lot of that comes from that. And you can take a lot of different approaches. But once again, at the end of the day, it comes out to, you better be good at evaluating and finding the right people.
Exactly. Also, shout out to Vitaly Petetsky if he is listening.
Vitaly! Oh, man, I haven't seen him in years. I love Vitaly. Man.
I'll make sure that I'm gonna make sure I send him the link if he's not watching right now. For that.
So I was the ball boy, and I used to get my butt ripped if I didn't have the right ball in for the kickoffs. Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Because you ask any kicker or punter, they like the beat up balls that
Yeah.
are broken in, and like, oh, that was just one of my biggest worries during the games when I was ball boying. I better have it good, and he loved me when I did. But no, Vitaly he was awesome, and you talk about a big leg, he had
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, no, that was quite the era going from John Hall then into the
I
tally for
know.
sure.
Yep. And both would run down and hit you on kickoffs too.
Oh yeah, no, I think I remember one hit by if I'm not mistaken, I remember there was one hit by John Hall when I was in my
Oh
youth.
yeah.
Yeah, he laid quite the smack there. Even Andrew Endicott, who's a walk on in this 2010s, that he wanted to hit somebody too, and he wasn't the biggest guy, but he always he wanted to lay a lick when he had a chance to.
Hey, it's all about having the want to.
Exactly. Let's see. Going to the next one. This is a good question. They all are. What am I saying? When looking at the top recruiting schools in the country, I think you've kind of talked about this already, but when looking at the top recruiting schools in the country, what does it take for these schools to separate themselves in an ultra competitive recruiting landscape?
Once again, a multifaceted answer, and you could go multiple directions with this. To me, and I think it's identifying, evaluating, and projecting early on. If you're a blue blood program, you don't have to do that. You can wait around and just kind of see how things play off. Outside of those elite players, that they're going to be, Alabama is battling the same people every single year for those top recruits. So they have to get in early on some of those kids. But the other guys who aren't outside of that top 10, if you are not one of those big name programs that's competing for a national championship every year, the biggest thing for me, in my opinion, is you identify early, you evaluate and project correctly, and you love them up early. Because that is, I look at some of these programs like Iowa State, and they have gone out and, they've gotten some wins that they usually wouldn't get because they have identified those players early, loved them up, and offered them. And a lot of kids, they're not going to forget that first offer. So, for the Blue Bloods, like I said, it's a different game for them, and they're kind of competing for the top 10, and then they're choosing from beyond there. But for schools that aren't national championship contenders on a year in and year out basis, to me, really, it's about identifying, evaluating, and getting those relationships early. And you have to put effort into it. It's not just going to happen. You have to love to recruit, and you have to be able to put in the work. And it's not like it used to be before the Twitter days. You have to do this every single day. You can't just, say, okay, we'll just go for this next guy because I didn't recruit him hard enough, and we'll coach him up. It's a different day and age. You've got to be relentless with your pursuit of recruits nowadays.
And then let's see, big thanks to Badger Boy 1, our BadgerBlitz.com subscriber, for that one. He also has one more that I wanted to reach out and discuss this one because I thought this one was really, in terms of describing Rivals as a whole, right? And just what we do in terms of evaluations. When recruits are interested in Wisconsin, just what are, some of the, let's see if this is the right one or not. Oh, wait.
Sorry, I was plugging my computer back in too.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. Let me see. Actually, no, we'll go to the next one from Badger Boy. If we get back to this, we'll come back to it. But this is from Sully Bear 1212. So apologies for the disconnect on my end, folks. When recruits are interested in Wisconsin, just what are some of the reasons they say for this interest in the program? But then vice versa, or on the other hand, when recruits aren't interested in Wisconsin, just what are some of the reasons they say for their lack of interest?
That's a good one. Wisconsin's a different program in the sense that it's built off culture and a special type of tradition. They might not have, the top 5 winningest percentage ever, but there is a culture when you go to Wisconsin and you see how important it is to the fans. You see the stadium, you see the facilities, and it's a special place. I mean, it's one of the best game day environments there is. The hardest part for Wisconsin when it comes to recruiting is probably getting the kids on campus. Because when you're fighting schools, and obviously a kid who grows up in Wisconsin, they know Wisconsin football. They're going to make it down there. But when you're fighting for visits, or fighting to get kids into camp. It's really about getting them on campus. And when you get a kid on campus and they get that game day environment, they see the facilities, they get around the coaches, that's a big difference maker. Now, on the other hand, if you didn't grow up around Wisconsin, if I'm out east or I'm out west, I've never been to a Wisconsin game day on Saturday. I can't make it to their camp because I can go to 10 other camps that cost a lot less money, that are close to home and everything like that. It's not necessarily, and it's hard to say this because I grew up, thinking that Wisconsin was the biggest national brand ever just because I was around. But, it's not like, a kid who has an offer from Texas and Texas is like, I got to get up to Wisconsin. So I think that's a big thing for kids who are, that don't have interest in the school. And that's why it's so important. And the way, to lock down the home state of Wisconsin, because there is talent in the state. And I think it's about picking and choosing, recruiting battles. Wisconsin, in my opinion, if they did more in the state of Illinois and stuff like that, places where kids that are up for grabs. There is no one program in the state of Illinois that everybody goes to. These kids will go anywhere. But you don't see a ton of, Illinois kids on the Wisconsin roster, which always kind of, confused me because those are kids that you can get up to camp. You can get them on campus. And that's the big thing with recruiting at Wisconsin. Get them up there, let them see how important football is, and let them see, the culture and the brand that it really is. Because Wisconsin is a brand name team. It's a brand name program, but not for people who are not familiar with it or not for people who have not been on campus and seen it. So that was probably a really long explanation for an easy question. And it's a very deep question, and I could probably talk about it for a long time, but hopefully that gave some semblance of an answer to the one who asked.
Absolutely. We got one more from our subscriber, a lighthearted question at the end, but are you okay with taking one impromptu one?
Yeah, I'll take them all impromptu.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so, we talked about Billy Strouth earlier in this live stream, but don't worry, folks, once we finish this recording, it'll be up on there. You can listen. We're already a half hour in, so this is fantastic. This is our first ever live stream Q&A, so I'm just like, I'm tickled pink by this just because it's just like, this is fun to me. Doing I love this. Yeah, I love it too. And obviously, and then, Clint and I both know, like we talked about Joe Nellis before, it's common connections and whatnot. Even talking about Clinton being here in Madison, and I take my kids to a certain swimming area, and he knows that place quite well from his
Swim
youth.
West.
That's right.
Swim West needs to. They just got a plug, for sure. Yeah, we got to get a discount for you over at Swim West. Let's go.
I love that. But we talked about Billy Strouth, and then, you're talking about remaining top targets maybe for Wisconsin. It's Strouth. You have Carson Hinsman, another 4-star top 100 recruit in this 2022 class, an interior offensive lineman, I think number 1 center in the nation, according to Rivals. There's also a running back from out west who's decommitted a couple times from programs, and Jaden Ott. Ben Z-Boy 101-1 asks, what is there any update on Jaden Ott, especially with, possibly Lincoln Riley at USC?
So I am a national recruiting analyst. We go through the rankings meetings. We do the rankings together. We bounce things off. I would be talking way off base if I gave you background on Jaden Ott.
Not a problem.
I probably watched 30 seconds of his film just because it was on the rankings list, and I had to kind of see where to space kids. So I'm not that familiar with him. But if I do come on again, and actually I'll go on the Badger Blitz, I'll go on the message board afterwards, and I'll do a little more digging. I'll watch the film, and I will actually give a written answer to that and get back to you on Jaden Ott. But what I have seen today, even guys who were committed to Oklahoma are already flipping to USC. If USC is a place that has offered, or Lincoln Riley has offered and has interest, I'd say they have as good a chance as anybody from what I've seen today. But I'd be speaking out of turn if I tried to do a deep analysis on Jaden Ott. I could give you a lot more info on Carson just because he's in the area and I've known him for a long time. But sorry for being worthless on the
No, it's all good. No, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. The absolute last question, since you've already been on for 35 minutes, man. And once again, thank you again for your time, Clint. It's been a lot of fun doing this.
I never shut
up. Last question. It's a fun one. Do you have any interest in heading up Wisconsin's recruiting department? Someone says, I was impressed with a podcast you did, and you have a great network of contacts, and you are a good talent evaluator. So some praise on your end.
This must have been like my mom or something. Thanks, Mom. No. You know what? I got out of coaching a while ago. My last job was probably 2012 at Dartmouth. And I got out for multiple reasons, but I always actually did plan on getting back in. And then the longer I was out of it, the less interest I had in getting back in. I've never shut that door. And at times I've listened to people about it. If you think about like childhood dreams and stuff like that, that would be a cool thing. But I don't see it in the picture. I haven't ever talked with any of them about it, even though I have buddies over there. I don't know much about their recruiting department. I used to work with them a lot when Vince Ginta was there back in the day. When I was when I was doing the scouting side of things. I think I could help them, and I've always had pride in my Badgers, but yeah, I've never really thought about that one until that question really came up. I'm enjoying my time at Rivals. I've been here for almost 3 months. I love it. You never want to shut any door, but I'm very happy with where I'm at and what I'm doing. And Rivals, being with Rivals has been a blessing for me. I absolutely love this.
Well, we love having you be part of the Rivals.com family too. Before we let you go, what do you got coming up? I know when you talked earlier today, you had a couple articles that you were working on, early signing periods coming up on December 15th. That's, again, 2 weeks away from tomorrow. What do you have coming up here on Rivals.com?
Man, all kinds of stuff. So we're just doing our 2023. We released the top 250 today, updated top 250. We'll have more rankings coming out, a bunch of kids getting stars that didn't have them before in the 2023 class. We have breakdowns from anything which schools should be happy about, the new recruiting rankings to players that are on the rise. Just so much stuff going on. And the thing that I've really learned in this job is you think you're done for the day on one thing, and then something else pops up. A kid commits, a kid decommits. So that's one of the fun parts about this job. You never know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of great stuff coming up between the 2023 Rivals rankings release. We've got 2022 final actually, I think it's the second to final rankings coming out. Obviously, signing day. There's a lot of great stuff, and I'm excited. This is my first kind of dive into the journalist side. I've always been on the other side as a coach or a player or a scout, and so I'm still learning every day too. But a lot of good stuff from recruit reactions to recruit reactions on game day visits, recruit reactions to coaching changes, and guys, the coaching carousel is going to be insane. This is just the start of it. I wrote an article earlier today about a kid who was, or it was part of an article about a kid who was the top commit at his position. And thank God it didn't go out today because he committed today. So we're going to have a lot of that stuff. There's a lot going on, and there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and, stay tuned. Go and check out the content that we're putting out over there because, in my humble opinion, it's the best in the business. And I know that the people that I work with, they're grinders and they get after it. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out. And then signing day will be a lot of fun. The plan is I will do kind of a commitment thing when Carson's ready, Carson Hintzman. I think we're going to do a video together if he'll do it in the end. And, we've had some good conversations, and I get this question a lot. No, he has not decided yet. But we'll have some good content when he does.
Exactly. And of course you gave some information earlier this week on BadgerBlitz.com's forums about potential in-house visits and whatnot. So that's why it's a great time to join BadgerBlitz.com, to join Rivals.com for these nuggets of info. Again, the graphics up on the page, folks. Just 2021 for your first year. Promo code Rivals 2021. Less than $2 a month. Almost 80% off. Give us a chance to earn your business. Go to wisconsin.rivals.com. Like I said, sign up, enter that promo code, and for less than a meal, less than a cup of coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, from Starbucks, from anywhere, a beer.
You can't even get a pack of M&Ms for $2 nowadays.
I know, exactly. So, give us a chance to earn your business. We have a lot of fun. And, of course, you can follow Clint on, Twitter right now. It's at @rivals_Clint. Clint, man, appreciate you so much, man. Really appreciate you having this opportunity to talk. And thank you to all the BadgerBlitz.com subscribers as well for all your questions.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And if I didn't talk too much, I would love to come back sometime. So hopefully we'll be in touch.
We're going to need you after the early signing period to break down some things with me and John McNamara, our esteemed editor and recruiting analyst. Right now we have a split screen. I'll work some cool graphics to get three of us up there in thirds, and we'll have some fun there too, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. Have a good one, man.
You too. All right, folks, real quick before I let you go, please subscribe and like this video, this live stream. It's right there on the page if you're on your mobile device. If you're on, of course, your laptop watching, it's free to subscribe to BadgerBlitz.com's YouTube channel. We're trying to diversify our content and give you something new that others on the beat maybe aren't doing. And that's what we were trying to do to reach some more audiences there. Follow us on Twitter. Again, for Clint, it's at @Rivals_Clint. For John McNamara, it's at McNamara Rivals. For me, it's at Jake Coco, Koco. And then, for Ben Borgel, who is our, basketball beat writer right now, it's at The Badger Nation. Like us on Facebook. Search Wisconsin Badgers on BadgerBlitz.com. One more, of course, I can't forget Raul, our staff writer. I'd feel really sad for him if I didn't give y'all his Twitter information. It's at Raul V45 on Twitter. So y'all have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate everything y'all have given us tonight. We'll talk to you soon here on Badger Blitz TV.